All right, back with part two here. Example two, Ferd's at it again. He's buying a $225,000 house this time and putting down a minimum down payment. Now, we've got to remember this from our research. What's the smallest amount that I can put down for a down payment? Well, it's 5% of the list price, 5% of the asking price or the purchase price is what the down payment can be. So before we can answer the question, what are our monthly payments, we got to figure out how much he's actually borrowing. So his down payment was 5% of $225,000. Good old grade 9% calculation there. 11,250. So that was how much he had to pay up front. And then he borrowed, or he mortgaged, I guess we should say, not borrowed, mortgaged the rest, which is $213,750. That's what he borrowed. So that's the present value, right? That's the present value of the mortgage. 25 years, 12 payments a year, right? Monthly payments. Interest rate was 4%. And we want to find the payment. So that's what we're going to find. In the future, he's going to owe 0, 12 payments a year, and compounding period is semi-annually, just like a mortgage is. That looks all good. Now we're ready to go to the TI-83. And notice, yeah, TI-83 is dandy because we've got use of them all the time. But there's lots of online mortgage calculators. You could always use those. And hopefully you got a chance to investigate some of those when you did the mortgage investigation last class. So hopefully you're playing around with those a little bit. For present value was the 213,750, and that's when I'm going to come back and find that one for. Yeah, the rest is good, and so now the payment. Solve for that 1124, which is again pretty good deal for Ferd, a $225,000 house, $1,100 mortgage payments monthly, pretty good. Decimal 37. So his payments how much interest does he pay? Again, 300 payments out of pocket of 1,100. So his payments, his interest is his payments subtract how much he borrowed, right? So payments were 300 payments of 1124.37. Subtract the amount he borrowed, which is $213,000 and change, and I put that into all together, and yeah, you kind of cringe when you see this number. $125,000 worth of interest. And of course, today our goal is to just calculate these problems and to answer these questions. But one of the things we want to do is get this number as small as possible, make changes to our mortgage so we're not paying so much interest, right? That's one of our goals, and that's next day's lesson, actually. But we've got more stuff to do. An amortization table, big long word. Amortization table shows the breakdown of interest and principal payments along with the balance remaining. So we saw Ferd's house that he bought, and each payment's right there, $1,100 in sum. And notice, most of these early payments are for interest. The idea of that's how much you owe, and you got to pay off the interest every single month. You got to pay off the interest. Whatever's left over from that payment goes to knocking down how much you need to pay on the house. And of course, as you pay off the house, the interest goes down because you don't owe as much. And we're going to see this using there's questions coming up about this, so we'll have to flip back and forth here. How much interest in principal was paid on the third payment? So on the third payment, if I look back, third payment, he paid that much interest and that much was principal. The monthly payment, you never sort of see this, but that almost all of it goes towards interest. So for interest was 703.87, and principal was 420.50. But on the 298th payment, that's like the second last payment. The second last payment, what happened? Well, there's only $11 interest, and almost all of that payment goes off to paying off your house. Well, why? Well, you're almost done paying it off. You owe the bank almost nothing. There's very little interest to pay. So over here, the interest was $11.07, and the principal was a big chunk of it. What happens to the amount of interest as a mortgage is paid off? Well, more of each payment goes toward paying the principal. So interest decreases. And notice, if we think about this, if we can remember what an open mortgage was. An open mortgage was if we could make extra payments. So for instance, let's say early on when you bought a house, say in month 6, say you got your income tax back and it was an extra $1,500, and you decided to put that down on your mortgage. You just say, I'm going to just help pay off my mortgage. Notice that $1,500 sort of represents 3 whole payments, because I'm not putting any of that $1,500 towards interest. It goes straight towards paying the principal down. So one strategy is, if you could make an extra payment early in a mortgage, you could save yourself a whole lot of interest. And it's almost, that much interest that you save. When you make these payments, it's almost that much interest that you save, although we'll play around with the exact numbers soon. The last thing that I want to, before we do this last calculation, the last payment is goofed up. See, the last payment here, we had the payments for 25 years, it was $1,124.37, but the last payment was off. It wasn't quite right. And that was because of rounding, right? When I rounded earlier to get the payment, remember when we looked at the graphing calculator, it wasn't exactly that value. It wasn't exactly 37 cents. We were paying a little bit less. So that last payment, the 300 payment, has to be a little bit less. Okay, there's a little bit of an adjustment. The last payment is to pay off the rest of the balance of the mortgage, just to account for our rounding. No big whoop. Last little question. What's the percent of the total amount paid was interest? Well, notice out of pocket, Ferd altogether was out of pocket $337,000 and change. He paid that $123,000 in interest. So what percent of his out-of-pocket money was interest? So interest over the total was $123,560.07 over the amount that he paid in total, including the amount that he owed, 7. And that is about, and this is sad, 37% was interest. About 37% was interest. You say, well, hang on. I thought the mortgage was only for 4% interest. It sounds like a great deal. No, but remember, compounding interest on interest and over a long period of time, out of Ferd's pocket was about 37% went straight to the bank. That's a big sad face. Okay, well, good luck solving some questions from the homework. Have fun with the mortgages. C'est tout.